What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name is Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, Callum Monroe from across the pond. Callum, how you been?
Very good. I've just noticed we've got the same headset on. Actually, it makes us look very, very professional.
Yeah, I have this Corsair Dealio. Do you have the same
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Oh,
The HS30 or something. It's yeah.
I forget. It came with a little dongle that like lets it be a USB
Yes.
one, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Makes us look very, very professional and like on the same. Our parent company bought us these.
Right. Yeah, we're sponsored, but no one really
Yeah.
cares enough to send us stuff. Yeah, I bought these when I was super hard into the Infinite Halo Infinite multiplayer, and I was like, oh, I got to be able to hear footsteps and little, grenade hitting the corner of a wall, and then they work great. They work
Yeah.
awesome, but it's like I'm not any better because of these headphones. But I was go down the
Uh,
rabbit hole finding the best, cheapest one, which these are like $30 at the time. They were actually not too bad.
yeah. Yeah, they're really well. They're actually the ones we get, like at work. Just if someone needs like a new pair of new headsets, or something, we just get these because they're really cheap and they do the job. And yeah, they're great.
Nice, nice. Yep, I can hear you. So that's it's doing half the
Yeah,
battle. But
yeah, and I can hear you, so
well, there we go.
it must be good.
It's a glaring review. Well, Callum, how you been?
Yeah, good. Yeah, been I was a bit wasn't feeling too great last week, but feeling better now, and yeah, just been busy. Years winding down, so it's kind of like a mixture of people starting to not really care too much. I always get that like kind of sense of I just like I'll start working hard in the new year kind of feeling, and I think like everybody else is kind of in a similar boat at work. So it's a kind of just slow moving time of year, and as I said to you before, we're COVID's getting back up to lockdown territory, so that's going to be fun to deal with as well. But just looking forward to Christmas and the break, and getting to see my family and everything. But yeah, other than that, all good.
Do you have to go through the stress of buying a bunch of gifts for everybody? How do you guys deal with that? Do you guys do it like a raffle thing, or you just show up and your presence is a present?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm very lucky. My family are like really, really nice and everything. But that kind of backfires in that I always get really, really nice stuff at Christmas from all of my family, like from my parents, my sisters, my brothers, everybody. So I always feel obliged to return the favor. So I did some shopping yesterday actually, which I always find really, really stressful. I normally just do it all online, but I decided to do it in the flesh this year for some
Oh,
reason. But yeah, so I'm nearly there, nearly done. Should be all right. But I think the main struggle will be taking all the presents with me because I'm getting a flight to Scotland.
yeah.
So I'm hoping that I'll be able to fit everything.
Yeah, good luck with that. It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
And if you got your fam all PS5s and you're also just a walking, waiting to be robbed person, but then physically having to travel with those, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in some parts of Scotland, they'll sniff it out, I think.
Right, right. Which that reminds me, I watched a movie that I feel like I was connected to you and your culture. Not really, but it's called The Last Duel, and it takes
Mm,
place. It's this epic story that really happened in like the 1400s, late 1300s. But it's the last duel that happened in France, and there's these various battles that sometimes happen in Scotland, but it's like France against the English at the time, and it's dope. It's super duper dope. I highly recommend if you. I feel like it's right up your alley too, but you got to watch it. It's Ridley Scott, well-known director, and like
yeah.
star-studded cast, and man, it's so freaking good. You got to watch it.
Is on Disney Plus, isn't it?
No, you
think I
can. It was in theaters, and now you can rent it or buy it. We bought it for $20. I wanted to see it in
Okay.
theaters, but it just like it. I don't know where it played, but it was gone, and very quickly. And then
Yeah.
he was also kind of online. He was being rotated around various outlets because he was blaming millennials and their phones for not watching his movie. And it's like me and my wife are like, we wanted to see the movie. We tried to go see it in theaters, like to support it, and we just couldn't get it, so we bought it for $20.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I have actually seen. I think I saw it because of that like news story about him
yeah,
moaning about people not seeing it. Um, but yeah, no, I do want to see it. I do really love films like that. But I don't know if we might have talked about it before, but on the topic of like medieval kind of Scotland, there's a great film on Netflix called The Outlaw King, which I don't know if you've seen.
No.
Which it's actually got Chris Pine in it of all people.
Oh,
He played Bruce, who's a very famous Scottish king. And it's a great movie. I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but I love the history of Scotland, trying to liberate themselves from the English and everything. And it does a really good job of kind of painting that kind of picture. So yeah, definitely recommend that as well. But yeah, I think I will definitely watch The Last Duel, 'cause like you said, that's definitely up my alley. I love you know history things, anything with swords really. I like
and yeah,
swords and
then
horses.
you'll love it. Does Chris Pine pull off? Does he try to do the Scotland accent?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to watch it again to really like. I'm normally quite not very good at like really knowing if someone's doing a good accent, so I'm not very good at them myself. Um, and I'm not very good at knowing if like someone's a good actor or not. I don't think.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought he was great, and I haven't heard all I've heard about the movie, and from like friends and family who are Scottish. They really enjoyed it as well. So I think he does a good job. But yeah, it's a really strange casting choice, especially because the rest of the cast are predominantly Scottish and English.
Mm,
When for their characters, and so it might have been that might be a big reason why he was chosen as well. I mean, obviously he's a big name, but considering the rest of the cast are going to have spot on accents because that's where they're from, it was probably a
right.
big part of it.
Yeah, and this one in The Last Duel, so it takes place in France. So these are French people, and although they do this thing which happens a lot of time in the movies, it's pretty much all predominantly like American actors. But instead of doing any kind of like French twist, or obviously do the whole movie in French, they just kind of have this pseudo British accent, and they just call it a day. Like, that sounds like it's roughly in this time period.
Yeah.
All right, we're good. It's just kind of a sort of British accent. It's kind of weird. It doesn't take you out, but like I kept thinking that as I'm watching a movie. It's like, okay,
Here's where I think it's like even in like things like Gladiator and like
same thing.
we get a lot of like Roman stuff as well. They all have kind of like British accents,
Yeah,
and which I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't. I get the kind of like I guess there's a bit of like dissonance there where you've just got to kind of accept it. But I mean, they do it even in like fictional like fantasy things that have that kind of like old school, old
yeah.
English medieval kind of vibe to them. But I don't know. It is strange. But I mean, if I was watching something set in Scotland and everyone and all the Scottish characters were speaking with English accents, I would probably be a bit miffed. So I don't know how like French speaking people feel about it, but
Right.
um, yeah, it is a kind of a tough one. Um, but you reminded me actually talking of like kind of like the cultures kind of clashing. Is I've been watching on Apple TV Ted Lasso,
Gotta watch
which I don't know
that.
if
My
you've
buddy
seen.
Gavin's into that too, and everybody's
Yeah,
into it. I gotta watch it. You liking it?
it's it's very very difficult to put down to stop watching. I think I watched like basically the whole first series in like one evening.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's really really good, and I love football. So I was kind of not sure what to expect. I'd heard really good things, so I assumed it would be good, but it's just so like it's not like the funniest thing. Like if you watch something like like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's just constantly hilarious, it's not. I mean, it tries to be funny a lot, but it's not. It doesn't get the same kind of laughs at me. But it's just so feel good. Like it just makes you feel like it's just such a happy, like heartwarming show. So yeah, definitely recommend that as well. But yeah, it's quite funny to watch. Because it's very American in a lot of ways, but that does quite a good job of playing on like some British tropes as well with the football and everything. So yeah, that's a good one as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's on my list. I gotta watch that. There's so many shows. I don't know if you have the same reaction where if somebody keeps telling me a show is dope, I just have this reaction of going, oh, okay, I'm just not gonna watch it. I don't know if enough people tell me to watch it. I just don't. And so just like Game of Thrones, I waited so long to watch that show. Of course, it's amazing. But because everyone was just up everyone's butt about it, you gotta watch. I'm like, I just kind of have this weird, anti reaction to it. But I gotta
Yeah,
watch Ted Lasso.
yeah, I definitely feel, especially with films, it kind of it kind of sets your expectations for you, doesn't it? Which is sometimes not a good thing. Like I went to see the new Dune movie, and I thought it was good, but I'd been like, I don't think there's ever been a film I've gone to see where I'd heard such good things, like people comparing it to Lord of the Rings and everything. So I was like really expecting like a Lord of the Rings scale masterpiece, which is definitely probably my fault for doing that. But it can ruin films for you, because if a film isn't what you're expecting it, then it kind of exaggerates the parts that aren't quite as good as maybe they could have been. So yeah, I definitely feel that it does kind of, I get worried about watching things that people say are really good, because then I'll be like really scrutinizing it.
Yeah, there's so many. We've said it before. It's like there's so many good shows that I don't know. We don't have the time to watch them all, and it's a bummer because there's just so much good content, and it's a really dumb thing to complain about. But it's tough, man. It's a
Yeah,
hard life to sit down and
yeah,
watch all this stuff. But there's such good
yeah.
stuff out there.
It's same with games as well. Like it's
Yeah,
just it's stressful. And I'm hoping that one day it'll like stop jading me, and I'll stop caring, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I just stopped caring and now I just play and watch what I want to watch. But it's still like, I look at Game Pass, or I look at just the games I already own, and it just like stresses me out beyond belief, because I just want to play everything. And it's like that. There's like a saying, isn't there? It's like you try and watch like a whole series of TV in like 20 minutes.
right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's very stressful.
Speaking of games, did you play anything during these past couple weeks?
So the majority of things I will have to speak about are not on PlayStation. So I'll start with what I did
Same.
play on PlayStation, and that was, I finished Mafia. I finished
Oh,
Mafia Definitive Edition, which I really really enjoyed. Actually, it's very kind of simple gameplay wise, quite repetitive and everything, but I thought the story was really cool, and I never played the original, so I probably would have preferred it even more if I had, because I know that, I mean, the game looks gorgeous. So I bet it was really really good to play it after playing the old one. But yeah, I really enjoyed the story, and it's like it's really made me want to play the second one as well, which I know didn't get the best remaster compared to the first one. But yeah, so it really surprised me. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. But yeah, really enjoyed that. And I also bought Far Cry 5 because it was on offer for a ridiculous price. So I played a little bit of that as well.
so Far Cry 5, not the new one, Far Cry 6.
No, yeah, not the new one. It was Far Cry 5, like Gold Edition. It comes with like a bunch of DLC. It comes with Far Cry 3 as well, and the New Dawn, is it called?
Oh
The
yeah, yep.
expansion. It was like £20. So I thought, I might as well grab that. A friend had told me that he had been enjoying it, so I got that. And yeah, that's been fun. I mean, it's, you kind of know what to expect with Far Cry. It's, I mean, the
Yes.
last Far Cry game I played was 3, and even with this one, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah, new setting, and they look gorgeous. That's one thing, is that their engine
Yeah.
is always optimized and looks great, and you can play co-op too, so you can play with your buddy like through the entire single player. What do you think so far of what you've been playing with Far Cry 5?
Yeah, I think the intro was awesome. Like really, really atmospheric and very moody, and then it kind of just gets very gamey very quickly. One thing I do really like about it, and one thing I like about a lot of Ubisoft games I've played, most notably Assassin's Creed Origins did this best, is the world is like really realistically put together. So for example, the first place I like cleared was like an orchard farm, and they had like a packaging center, which is like its own thing. And it's just very like little bits of environmental storytelling like that, which I find like really interesting, and it makes me kind of like more want to explore more and take my time as well, which I struggle to do uh, with games like that. And so yeah, it seems cool. I don't know whether I'll really get back to it much, just because, and we can sort of segue into this as well. I've been playing a lot of Halo, which
Oh,
is comparable, I'd say, to Far Cry, but also very different.
yeah. Are you playing the? Because we talked about multiplayer a couple weeks ago. Are you playing the campaign now?
I am, yes.
Nice. What do you think? And then also, have you played the other Halos? How do you feel about your time playing the other Halos and this one kind of compared to it? Because it's almost like a spiritual reboot, although it's the story continuing.
Yeah, I played. So I've played the first three and Reach. I haven't played Halo Wars 1 and 2, which I know the second one has actually got quite a lot to do with this storyline.
Yeah.
And I haven't played 4 or 5, but I did watch a 20-minute recap video. So, the plan was I was going to play the others before it came out, but suddenly I blinked and it was December and it came
Right.
out, so I didn't really get the time to. But I've been really really enjoying it. I think it took a little while to. I think I've always been enjoying the gameplay, but it took a little while for me to really like get it, if that makes sense. Like really get how the game wants you to play it and everything. But now I don't know how long far I am in, maybe 10 hours or so. I feel like I'm pretty far in, maybe halfway. But yeah, I'm really, really drawn in now. Like really, really enjoying it. Really starting to understand, what all the different things in the environment do. The weapons, the different like missions you get that can get you like different variants of weapons and things like that. So yeah, really, really enjoying it. I think the story's good. I don't think the story's ever been the strong point of Halo anyway. I think it's always been about the gameplay. So, and that for me is so much fun. It's just like a big, open sandbox. And I think that it, playing games like Halo Reach and the more recent ones, and Halo One actually, you even though they're not open world, the open world missions in this still feel like that. They're very like multi-part, and they always involve like big open spaces anyway. So I think it feels like right at home, and yeah, really, really enjoying my time with it.
Yeah, same. I've been neck deep in Halo Infinite, and I would say I'm around the same time roughly that you are too. And yeah, just I grew up, playing them and loving the originals up until about like 4. Then it kind of dropped off, and then 5 didn't play at all, and it had mixed reception on it. But there's a level on the original Halo Combat Evolved called the Silent Cartographer, and I always loved that level. I actually had a demo disc that came just with that level, and it's like, and the devs have talked about this being an inspiration where Infinite is basically like that level just times 1,000, where you can, in that original level, it's this island that has its nooks and crannies on the inside, and then also this huge area on the outside, and you're free to explore it from the get go. And this is that. Infinite lets you just roam around. There's still these barriers and stuff. It's not like you're going around the entire ring, but it's super open, and you get to just use that same sandbox kind of gameplay you're talking about. And yeah, it's a blast. I love how they kind of force you to, or they really incentivize you to use the environment around you. So there's a lot of these little explodable power cube things, throwing those around, switching your weapons, grabbing new weapons, using the grappling hook. I love that mechanic now, and I'm just swinging around like Spider-Man basically everywhere, or using it to grab people them or jump over to aliens and then just like melee them. The mix of the combat and the shooting is just so good, and it's really tight, and yeah, I love it. Just nothing but positive stuff to say about it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think the reason it maybe took me a little bit to get into, I think, is because I think when you first start, I mean, the first couple of levels where it's a little bit more linear, I thought that was great. It was really really cool. Felt very Halo-y, and then but as soon as it opens up a little bit, I just found it a little bit. It was a bit too open without too much like direction, and it gives you a lot to do. So I was kind of like, oh, is this going to be the whole game where where it's like Far Cry, where you have like a main mission, but it's very open ended and you can do what you like. But as it gets further and further, it kind of gives you objectives, but in like a portion of the map. So you can kind of do things on the way to each of your objectives, and the difficulty really ramps up as well. After the part they showed in the demo, with the AA guns, I found after that the difficulty really ramps up, and so you're kind of forced to like use your fob bases to as like base camps to like spawn vehicles and get support from the Marines and everything. And one thing I love as well are the targets, like the what they call them, the HVTs.
Yeah.
um I love those encounters, and I love that they all yield like a unique weapon variant. which then like makes your life easier because you can then spawn those at your bases as well. And I just think it's really really great. I really really enjoy it, and I'm enjoying all of that without even thinking about the story, which I feel like is probably going to ramp up a little bit. But yeah, it's really really great. I'm having a really really good time with it.
Yeah, I've been listening to a bunch of different podcasts kind of give reviews, break it down. And with 343, they're in this tough spot where they had to try and bring new fans in or fans back in that haven't played in a while, but still continue the story. So it's a weird way of how do we let stuff unfold, but then tell you have to care about it, but then also have these nuggets and this new story that unfolds for veteran players so that the story continues. I think they seem to nail a good balance where if you had know nothing about it, it's still fun to jump into because they'll follow some of the same beats in the original, and yeah, and it's still you can blast your way through it and not have to care about the story at all. And yeah, really really cool. One thing I love is the sound component to everything just sounds really good. But also the enemies, the stuff they'll say to you feels really natural, and it changes, feels dynamic every time. With once they kill you, the crap they'll talk to you, but also the grunts when I'm walking around, hearing them talk about Master Chief, or then just like to still talk crap about Master Chief as they're losing. They're just hilarious.
Yeah, and then they start running away.
Yeah.
It is. It is really funny. In fact, I noticed it is quite funny quite a lot of the time, especially with the new AI and everything. She's quite quirky and has a lot of quips. And yeah, I at first I was a bit like I was worried that they kind of like marveled it, just trying to make it just funny. But it actually works really well, and I think with like Master Chief's kind of dryness as well, it does work super well. So yeah, it's definitely been a joy to play, and it's nice to play something that does play so well that you don't even need to really worry about the story. Because I think that was one thing I was worrying about, was because I haven't played 4 and 5, and I watched the recap, and it sounds like after 3 and even after Reach, it gets very convoluted. It reminded me of like Kingdom Hearts, where I was trying to like remember like all the names of these different like races and what they'd done. And because before in like the first 3 Halos, it was very simple. You had the Covenant and these rings and the Flood and everything, and then it just gets very almost like ridiculous. So I was a bit worried, but I it's self-contained in this game. I really like the Banished. I think they're a really really cool concept for like an enemy for enemies, and I'm interested in kind of what's going on with Cortana and this ring and everything. So it's definitely got a little bit of a pull, sort of with its like original story. But yeah, I was a bit worried at first, just because, like I said, I hadn't played 4 and 5. I didn't know all this new stuff they had added in with like all the Forerunners or whatever they're called, and all this like really really strange like for Halo, like outer worldly stuff. So yeah, I'm just really really impressed with it. I don't really have any negative things to say about it.
Yeah, I'm having a blast playing it, and I'm swapping between playing on PC and then also on my Xbox Series S, and I think you had gotten the S as well. What are you playing it on?
Yeah, I'm playing on Series S. I played it initially on my 1440p monitor because I wasn't sure, and I'm still not too sure. It's a little bit muddy on how it runs, because you've got like the 4 consoles and the PC, so it's difficult to really figure out like what's the best way to play it. But I've noticed that on quality mode, it runs really, really badly on the Series S. This is both on my 1440p screen and my 4K TV. It's like sub 30 FPS for sure. Like really, really juddery. But on performance mode, it doesn't look any worse, and it runs buttery smooth. I think it's probably a lot smoother on my 1440p monitor, but it still runs really, really nicely on the TV as well.
Yeah, same. I'm using my S, and then just primarily performance mode just to keep that at 60. And I think that frame rate really needs to be there for this type of gameplay. I did jump on my PC, and it runs really great. I can do like max settings, 1440p, but because you're in this open world, the frame rate is just like just jumping around like 30 frames at a time, like going to 90, going to back to 60. And it's just like, and I find myself just focusing on that, whether I
Yeah.
can visually notice it or not. So I just, okay, and I'll just play on the Series S. And it is kind of a visual downgrade slightly, but it still looks fine and it runs at 60. So I just keep it there.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, if you could probably cap it, I guess. I don't know if you tried capping the frame rate just in
Yeah, I
case,
need to mess with that.
but yeah, it's. I don't think it's too well optimized because I've played it sometimes at work, like on lunch breaks. We play like the multiplayer, and it doesn't seem too well optimized for PC. But you know, like you said, especially with a PC like yours, you should be fine.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully as the game stays out longer, and I'm sure it will have like a huge lifespan with the multiplayer. Hopefully it gets better and better on PC as well, so it can really benefit from the better textures and everything. But a friend of mine's been playing on a Series X, and from the screenshots I've seen, it looks pretty amazing on there. So
Yeah.
but it's still nice to play it on a console that costs like £250 at the
Right.
quality it looks. So
And good on 343 for it's a huge task to try and make this run on the last gen hardware too. So there's
yeah.
basically 4 or 5 different versions of this game. It's on the Xbox One, then the Xbox One X, then the Xbox Series S and X, and then PC. And it's able to run on those with their various like quality mode, performance mode. But that's an insane task to do, and they're able to pull it off. And it's really cool. Though looking forward, I'm hoping, and Xbox is starting to do this, say with like Hellblade, which we'll talk about some of the Game Awards stuff. That one is locked into the next gen only. It's Xbox Series S and X, so they're not for every title going and making sure it's available on every iteration of these last consoles. But that's cool that they did that. But going forward, especially in this now second year of next gen, of current gen, I want to see more properties go. Okay, we bridge that gap. Let's go full force into next gen performance. All right, Callum. So let's move on to some of the actual news stories we got. So what we're playing, covered that. We got the Game Awards just happened. Some of the big trailers and announcements, I pulled up those first so we can talk about and spend some time. And there's links here on some of the footage. We got the big one, or the first one rather, here is Quantic Dream has a Star Wars game that they revealed. It's called Eclipse. Did you watch this trailer? What'd you think?
Yeah, I initially, because I didn't watch the Game Awards live because it was on at like a
Like 3
ridiculous
a.m.?
time. Yeah, and it ran on for hours as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched it afterwards. When I first heard about it, I wasn't sure because I'm not the biggest fan of Quantic Dream's games. But when I watched the trailer, I thought it's a great period of Star Wars to set anything in. For me, I'm not like that into I mean, I love Star Wars, and I've always have been since a kid. But it's always been more about the lightsabers and the effects and the music and just all the like iconic stuff. I've never really cared about them as like films, if that makes sense. So for a game to come out and be in this kind of setting, which we don't really get much of anymore, like the High Republic stuff, that's exciting. It's exciting to see more of the Jedi and the Council and everything. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be great for people who like Quantic Dreams games. I'm just interested to see how whether it's going to stick to that minimum amount of gameplay kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It will definitely be interesting to see how they tackle such a high octane period in Star Wars kind of like history. A lot of like fast paced fighting and things. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how a studio like that tackles it.
Yeah, same. And this trailer, it's highly conceptual. It's all CG, right? So, and they show all these different aspects of Star Wars. You have the ship battle, montages. You have Jedi's fighting. You have on the ground floor dealing with the actual worlds. You have these dudes drumming. It's like I don't know what the hell this game is actually going to cover because it's just general Star Wars stuff that they show off. But so it's still like we have no idea what they're actually going to tackle, but it is going to be story based, right? Because it's Quantic Dream. Yeah. And I did see, so I'm more on the side of I enjoy the Quantic Dream game. So with Detroit, I really dug that. Whether they nailed the story, that's debatable. A lot of people didn't didn't really dig what they were trying to pull off. And I thought it was cool. I at least like the way that they introduce all these different branches where how the story can go and how your decisions unfold. But I didn't think that I never would have put Star Wars and Quantic Dream together. So when they had that title reveal at the end that it's Quantic Dream, I was pretty shocked and excited. So, but I get that Quantic Dream gets a lot of hate, and so does David Cage. It gets a lot of hate, and it's understandable. And but I do want to see what this game looks like because I have been a fan of at least what they try to pull off in the games of the past.
Yeah, I think Detroit's a game I want to play because David Cage aside, what he said some pretty awful things, but like the games themselves, like I really liked Fahrenheit on PS2. I played that when I was younger with my sister and really enjoyed that one. But Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, I just didn't get on with those. But yeah, I've heard Detroit is a far is easily his best or their best game. So I would like to try it. But yeah, I think as soon as anything for me gets set in that period in the Star Wars world, with the Jedi Council, which I mean I could be wrong, but I feel like there's not a lot of things recently that we've seen much of that on. It's all obviously we've had like the sequels, which have of course been way after that. We've had like Rogue One and the Han Solo movie and everything. So it's nice to go back to that that time with lightsabers.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'm very interested, very excited. Although I think, and it's been kind of confirmed over the weekend that it's still a while before we see anything from this game. So they just started working on this. And then if we also theorize, like, how long have they been working on this game? So you have Detroit came out in 2018, 2017. I want to say 2018. So assuming after that, you can't really assume that they started working on this game because there was still that time frame where EA had pretty much control over the Star Wars franchise when it came to games, and just within the past 2 years, Lucas has been brought back to for the game aspect of stuff, and Disney still owns all those properties, but they've been now allowing other devs to work on it. So we have like Machine Games working on Indiana Jones games, which is still that property under Lucas. So now we have within that last 2 years these deals being made. So I would say within maybe a year or two, they got the approval, they got this contract, and then started conceptualizing it. But I think we're still, and then on top of that, it's Quantic Dream that takes forever to make these games. So I think it's like another 4 years before we see this game come out. Maybe in 2 years where we see some actual gameplay or like concept of the gameplay, but I think it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously we don't know how it works behind the scenes. We don't know whether the moving from EA to a bit more open was sort of something that people were allowed to pre-confirm or sort of agree. But yeah, I mean, judging by the trailer, it definitely doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon. But it was a really cool trailer, and yeah, they've got great storytelling at Quantic Dream, which I think is always good when you pair it with something with a universe like Star Wars. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm definitely interested to see how it's going to play out.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, and if the world is still here by the time the game comes out. The next big one they showed off was or announced was Alan Wake 2, officially announced, coming in 2023. This is from Remedy Games. Are you an Alan Wake fan? How'd you feel about hearing that they're officially working on that sequel?
Yeah, I have a weird sort of relationship with Alan Wake. I played it when it first came out and really didn't like it, but I was a stupid young kid then, so I could have been wrong. But I have a friend who really likes it, so it's always been like kind of like a joke where you like if someone likes a game that you kind of don't like, you just play on it loads. So I've definitely been interested in trying the remaster just to see if I was deeply wrong. So I know that lots of people really like it. But yeah, I'm sure was it announced that it was coming before that, or because I'm sure I heard something
Well,
before
there's
that.
been rumblings as far as with the Control DLC. They did actually integrate Alan Wake into that, so that gave more life to them continuing on that story. And I guess the first one kind of ends at a cliffhanger, but this is the first time they're confirming we're working on Alan Wake 2, and they've also confirmed that this is going to be a proper survival horror game and not just more of the action horror that that the original Alan Wake was.
Yeah, I think that the main problem with me, or that I think of Alan Wake 2, and I could be completely wrong because I didn't finish the first game, but from what I can remember of the first game is it was, about like this author who's kind of reliving his book or something along those lines. And he's like finding pages from his book. And it felt like a game that maybe wouldn't a sequel wouldn't I wouldn't know how like a sequel would work, especially because the trailer when I saw like the screenshots of the trailer I thought it was like Matrix related.
Hmm.
So I'm not really sure I understand like the direction of the games and what a second game will entail, because I know you've also got the American Nightmare DLC, which looks kind of silly from like what I've seen. So maybe I'm just completely misreading what the game's like, but I know that people love it and people have been excited for a second game since like the first game came out. So it's definitely a great thing, and people are going to be chuffed with it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be dope. I really, really love Remedy, and especially after playing Control, that was one of my favorite games of the past couple years. So I'm excited to see what this looks like, what it's gonna be. I guess they are still in tandem working on the sequel to Control. That was confirmed, which I forgot that was confirmed about last year. They have this deal with Epic to kind of publish and finance stuff. So they're working on that. Also working on Alan Wake 2, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I know this is a I guess you can call it cult classic, but people really love it. It stayed alive because of that. So excited to see them go back to it. Let's move forward. We got Warner Bros. Quick announcement. They announced a Wonder Woman game for PS5. This one, it was just a really short, like conceptual thing again, CG trailer. But they did announce afterwards that they're using that Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor games. It's going to be implemented into this Wonder Woman game.
Yeah, it's I yeah, I just don't know. I don't know I don't know much about Wonder Woman, so I don't really know
Yeah.
how like the Nemesis system's gonna play in it. But I am really glad to see it come back, because I love that system. I love the Shadow and Mordor games, and um, it's cool that it's cool to see something else come from Monolith as well, who I'm pretty sure made the Fear games,
I think you're right.
if I remember correctly. So yeah, it's always nice to see them making something uh, with this Nemesis system as well. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Wonder Woman or generally like superhero-y stuff. So I probably won't end up getting it, but definitely interested to see how they kind of factor in the Nemesis system to a property like Wonder Woman.
Right, could be cool. And they have copyrighted that system too, and it was controversial, but so it seems like at least it's coming back to life here. But yeah, that's a well loved system in those Shadow of Mordor games, so it's gonna be in this Wonder Woman game in some capacity, but not a lot there. Just that conceptual footage. Now we did see some of Hellblade 2. Now this is from Ninja Games, and I added it to the docket here. I forgot to add it originally, but we got to see this extended gameplay, and it looks really freaking nuts. And I'm trying to figure out, because as me and Gavin were watching, we are live streaming. I just didn't believe this is like in engine. It seems really crazy how they're pulling off these visuals, but also the original Hellblade looked great too. So, what do you think of this footage?
Yeah, it looks awesome. I still haven't played the first one. It's definitely on the list somewhere. But yeah, it looks really really cool. I love the kind of like really dark, kind of eerie, like action vibe to it. And yeah, it looks incredible as well.
Yeah, it's pretty insane with the lighting that's going on, the high res textures. I don't know what engine they're doing this on. If it's UE4, they're moving to UE5, but I'm glad that we got to see some actual extended gameplay, because the last time we had seen anything from this was 2 years ago at the Game Awards when they announced the Xbox Series X as well. And yeah, it looks great. I think one thing that benefits this style of what Ninja Theory has done with Hellblade is they somewhat will control or limit your ability to move in the gameplay segments when it looks like this. A lot of the game is they're kind of controlling how you're moving around. I think that helps them just control or optimize the visuals and the frame rate to where they're controlling what you're doing. You're not just like spinning around completely, like say like a Horizon Zero Dawn, where it's like you can see anything. You can also dynamically, shoot stuff, and there's all this crazy lighting that can happen at any point, physics. And with Hellblade, they kind of control what you do, not like it's slow, but you're just limited somewhat. And I think the balance of that is they can also pull off these visuals because you're not just able to spin the camera around and like render that part. Or I don't know nothing about game development, but I feel like there's a trade-off where because they limit it a little bit what you can do, they can pull off these crazy visuals.
Yeah, I guess they have more time to focus on like a smaller area, but I mean, there's no taking away from how amazing it does look. And
Right.
but yeah, I think I just looked at. I think it's being developed on Unreal Engine 5, so that could be, you know, a good reason why it is able to look this good too.
Which let's segue from, you mentioned UE5. There was a demo that was already announced, but they unlocked it during the actual Game Awards. But it's this UE5 demo that's on PS5 now and on Xbox Series X and S as well. And it's linked to the Matrix, where it has this kind of Matrix intro with Neo, with Trinity, and then you actually get to move around and use the engine. You get to drive around. You can zoom and zip through the actual world. It's like the city that's rendered. It looks pretty insane. I don't know if you've got a chance to try this demo out or see any footage.
I haven't yet. I saw the footage of it, and I didn't realize that you could also play it until I saw it on. I think it was like on the Xbox dashboard. But yeah, it looks crazy. Looks really really great. I liked the kind of bit before as well with Keanu Reeves. And I've forgotten the actress who plays Trinity, but and they're
Yeah.
sort of walking around, and I like the way they kind of linked, you know, back when they were working on the first Matrix film with all the special effects, and you know, they were always kind of having like these dreams of, especially with the story of the Matrix about, you know, like a simulation and everything, and they, you know, they'd often talk about, imagine being able to, is it like change your face as easy as you can change your clothes or something. So it was a really cool like trailer. And yeah, I'm mostly interested just to see real games use this thing. I think from what I've heard, it's the most revolutionary thing is it's going to allow, you know, developers with less resources and things like that to make games that really look as good as the current AAA games we sort of have now. So it's going to be, you know, great for gamers for sure. And yeah, I mean, some of the like the bit when they're shooting, driving, and everything, it looks, yeah, pretty incredible. But I always like take these things with a bit of a pinch of salt just in case, because until I see it like in a whole game and not like a tech demo,
Yeah.
uh, then I'll believe it, because I think we've just been burnt by so many tech demos and reveal trailers and things that then end up getting downgraded. So yeah, I think it's difficult to, you know, take it at face value.
I do hear on that. This one is a little different or more special where for the first time it seems like you can actually run this demo on a console. Like I know there was the previous time they showed off UE5 and had that kind of mountainy demo where you're this female character zipping around and there's a lot of cool lighting and they're showing off the just the how complicated the terrain can look. That was eventually released to PC, but it was still complicated. But this is like on running on your actual console on PS5, on Xbox, and you're able to toggle stuff, mess with it, and explore this environment. It's all running and rendering in real time. And I think it is really cool for them to unlock that and let you, you know, try and break it and mess with it. It has its limitations, but a lot of the world is just the entire little city is huge, first of all, and it's all like rendered there. There's no pop in. I watched this Digital Foundry breakdown that I highly recommend. It's like an hour long. It's super nerdy, but they really go into the details on what's going on. They talk with Epic and got more information on it, and it's just crazy the kind of stuff they can pull off, and just the lighting, the textures. You can toggle things on and off. You can see this debug menu. It really, you know, opens it up to let people see it if they want, and gives you, you're right, a glimpse of what can happen. But it seems like at the very least they can achieve something like this, and there are tools that do carry over. So you mentioned that before, where with UE5 a lot of the stock stuff like you know, lampposts, you know, like different asphalt terrain or cars, like all that stuff is kind of built in where you can use it. You can then build on top of that. So it seems like it can streamline development as well. If you're just kind of creating a generic city, then you can switch it up on top of that too. But it looks pretty freaking nuts. And this is just a snippet of what's possible, but it's really cool that you can play this on your console.
Yeah, I think that's the main takeaway from it, because I think it's easy to, you know, watch like the car chase scene and see all like the really cool obviously like scripted parts of the
Right.
explosions and everything looks great and all of that. But yeah, I think the real takeaway is being able to create this kind of thing quickly and without worrying about you know, as much about like poly count and, you know, how's this going to run with this amount of detailed things. So I think that's probably where it's going to really take off if it's all to of course like be believed, is how quickly these things can be made, and it opens up so many opportunities for smaller companies who maybe have these like grand visions but they're limited by the size of their team or their budget or whatever. So hopefully it should be like a really big step, because it's difficult to kind of measure the steps nowadays, and you know, as because before, you know, like the jump from like PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 was massive, and that's been getting smaller and smaller because it's getting harder and harder to uh you know, show something that's technically revolutionary. Nowadays it's all about, oh, bumping the resolution up and getting higher frame rates, but this should hopefully really actually like push what can actually be made, and what our games are gonna look and play like.
Yeah, same. I'm excited. Just a snippet, but anybody can, if you have PS5, Xbox Series consoles, you can try it and mess with it. And it's pretty neat. And of course, it's all packaged around the Matrix as well, which I'm super duper excited for that movie coming out. It's very soon. I know it's December-ish, I want to say. And you can also stream it on HBO Go, HBO Now. But I'm gonna try and watch this in theaters because I'm just a huge Matrix fan, Matrix nerd. So cannot wait. Alrighty, Cal, we're gonna move into the next one here. It's a weird game, but it's a former Silent Hill developers announced Slitterhead, and there's a trailer that they showed off. It's a very strange trailer, but I don't know if you got the chance to see this already. Any thoughts on it? So the original creators of Silent Hill are working on this.
I didn't actually see this. I'm just sort of scrubbing through now.
Yeah, scrub
Uh,
through. It's very wacky and pretty weird.
yeah, the name is like, I just saw the bit at the end. That's yeah, very strange. Um, the name's really good. I like the name Slitterhead. It's like just that name on its own is really unnerving and like
Yeah.
really creepy. Um, but yeah, no, that's cool. I like it when you sort of see studios like manned by people who worked on like great, you know, games. So yeah, very excited to see more about this.
Although watching the Game Awards in real time, around this announcement, they had Kojima on screen. They even have Guillermo del Toro. They were tied to that PT reboot of Silent Hill, and then we see this trailer with the intro saying from the original creators, you know, of Silent Hill. I'm like, okay, we're getting Silent Hill is back to life in some capacity. But then nope, it's this other game called Slitterhead, which is it's fine. But I was hoping it was all kind of leaning towards hopefully maybe this rumor of it existing being there, but it turned out not to be. But yeah, think we have any hopes for any kind of Silent Hill next entry? Do you think that's long gone, dead in the water, or think that's a possibility there?
I don't know, because you just never know with Konami, because I imagine Konami still like own it,
Yeah,
and you just never know what
right.
they're up to.
Very true. Very true. So the next one here, another little a short gameplay snippet of a Horizon Forbidden West. And we've seen footage of this game already, but it just continues to look amazing. And they showed off a bit here, and I just got even more excited watching this in real time. And I just can't wait for this game. The animations are insane. The visual quality is insane. I just cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this. I think it's I don't know why, but for some reason I'm just less, because I loved the first game, and for the second one I just can't seem to get massively excited for it, and I don't know why. I think it might
Huh.
be one of the massive reasons I loved it the first time around was because you're kind of like uncovering the story with the character, like trying to figure out what happened to the world. So then when you find out at the end, which I can't actually remember what happens at the end. I remember it being a little bit not having the best of endings.
Mm,
But yeah, I think now it doesn't have that kind of like nuance, that kind of like
mystery.
yeah, that mystery. I'm just kind of a bit more middled on it, but it does look amazing. It does look really lovely, and the gameplay was great in the first game. Yeah, I'm just not. it's like, you know, when like you should be excited about something and you're just not that excited. I just have that weird
Yeah.
ominous feeling. But I'm sure like when it's like release week, I'm sure it'll all hit me and I'll be excited. I mean, I'll get it for sure and I'll definitely play it. Yeah, I don't know why. Like I didn't even watch this trailer. I just didn't feel the need to. It might just be because I kind of know what to expect as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure it will be great and it looks amazing and all the rest of it. But yeah, I don't know why. I just can't get myself excited about it.
You're a weird guy, Callum. I don't know what to tell you
No.
because I'm so jacked for this game. And this also the concept or the gameplay we're seeing just reminds me because I was more on the side of as a lot of these games got announced for being cross-gen, on PS4, Horizon's one of them, the next God of War, the next Gran Turismo, and we had Miles. I kept thinking like, are we limiting what we can do because it has to work on a base last gen console? I was kind of a bummer when that stuff was announced, but then seeing this footage, and this is on we're seeing PS5 footage, it looks insane. It looks next gen, and the fact that it's going to run in some capacity. I don't know how well on PS4 on base PS4, but the idea of them being limited by what they could do on PS5, you can throw that out the window. And maybe you could have already said that when we saw Miles, but I still thought with this next Horizon, I want to see this unlocked, whatever that is on PS5. But seeing the gameplay, looks like it's not hindered at all. It looks like this is proper next gen, and very much now leaving that argument alone. And like I'm fine with these games cross gen. This game looks really dope.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's an easy sort of like narrative to like listen to, but until we're actually looking at footage and being like, oh, this could look better, then it doesn't really matter whether what people feel about it, because all these games look amazing. So
Right.
if they're being held back, then I don't really care, because there's no time where I think, oh, this could look better or this could run better. So yeah, I'm not sure it's something that we need to necessarily worry about too much. And
Yeah.
as things obviously get further and further and our expectations get higher and higher, as they obviously will, that's when it might, we don't want to like keep having the same bar. We want to keep going above it. But for now, yeah, we're still seeing things that are more and more impressive than what's out at the moment, and they're still supporting the old consoles. So, and the longer they can do that, the better, because it's still not easy to get next gen consoles, and it's obviously people can't always afford to keep up with them as well. So it just means more and more people can play these games as well.
Yep. I agree. So we got the next one here. Just really, we got to see some new gameplay, but more so, we got a date for Square Enix's RPG coming out on PS5 for Spoken. Gets a launch date of May 24th, so that is coming relatively soon. We can move on to the next one here. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League got its first gameplay reveal. So this is from WB Games. I forget the name of the studio. They're well known, but we got to see some gameplay. Have you got a chance to look at this? What do you think of this?
Yeah, I think it looks really cool, and I know it's going to sound really hypocritical because I said I don't really care about superhero games, but this looks super fun. Looks really, really like it's got a really fun combat system and fun characters as well. I think Suicide Squad's are great. I think same as like Guardians of the Galaxy, and there was another one in my head then, but I've forgotten. It's just a great like dynamic for anything really. So yeah, I think it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Looks neat, and any chance I can, have to punch Superman in the face, I'm down for that. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that game. But it looks very, very cool. We got, let's see, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Intergrade comes to PC December 6th. That was shown off there. We got Persona 4. I know you're a huge Persona fan. Persona 4 Arena Ultimate Combos coming to PS4 in March in 2022. I don't know much about this game, but I did see this trailer. We're excited for this announcement.
Yeah, I know that Arena's like the 2D fighting game, but yeah, no, I think I would be excited for this actually. I don't really like fighting games that much just because I'm not very good at them, but Persona's awesome, and I imagine that this will probably continue the story in some way, because I know that with these spin-offs they always tend to try and continue on the story of like the characters and everything. So might be a reason to jump back into Persona 4 on the Vita.
Gotcha, gotcha. Nice. And spend what, another 200 hours in that with that game
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Are you a
I'll
fan of
play it
the
every time I go to the toilet. That's where I'll
There you
fit
go.
it in.
Are you a fan of the Warhammer series? There's Warhammer 40K Space Marine is getting a sequel on PC and consoles, and they showed off a concept of that one.
I don't know too much about it. I've actually recently just started painting minis,
Right.
but the Lord of the Rings ones. So not the Warhammer 40k ones,
Oh,
but
because that's the standard is I always hear about the Warhammer ones people are painting.
yeah, I think out of the because you've got Warhammer 40k and then you've got like the more high fantasy Warhammer. I think I'd be more interested in the high fantasy one. I'm not massively into like sci-fi stuff by default, um, but I know that there's loads of really good Warhammer 40k games like Dawn of War and things. I haven't heard of this game series before, but yeah, I mean, it's got a massive fan base, so I'm sure there's a lot of people excited for this.
Nice. Yeah, that was shown off there. And my buddy Gavin is a huge nerd for that original, so he's glad they're getting a sequel there. Life is Strange True Colors dev adapting The Expanse for Telltale Games. So you mentioned not being a sci-fi fan by default, but you love The Expanse, and now Telltale is making a game in that universe. How do you feel?
So and this is like the biggest takeaway from the Game Awards for
Yeah.
me. Um, yeah, I mean the new series started the other day as well, so I watched that as well. So excited for this. And I've never been a huge fan of Telltale games, just because I feel like sometimes they drag a little bit. But if it's something that you're already into, I can imagine it won't be long enough. So yeah, really excited for that. And Drummer, the main character that they're using for the Telltale game, she's a main like supporting character in the series, but they're choosing her as like the protagonist is awesome. She's like one of the best characters I think, and voiced by the original actress as well, which is really cool. She has a
Nice.
very like iconic kind of voice and like temperament. So really excited. Massive surprise as well. Did not expect this at all. Not only an Expanse game, but a Telltale game. I'd kind of because I know that the talent had been bought by another company, but they completely dropped off my radar. So yeah, really excited for this. It looks awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I saw this and I thought, oh yeah, Callum's gonna lose his mind. They showed this off right before the show, and that was one thing that because they have so many announcements and actual awards that they present, there's even stuff in the pre-show, and this was one of the pre-show announcements. But it's a huge deal.
Mm. Yeah, super excited.
Now we got let's scrub over real quick the actual awards that were given off. So we have first one here. It Takes Two won Game of the Year, Best Multiplayer Game, and Best Family Game. Have you had a chance to jump in It Takes Two?
Haven't yet, but I've heard it's awesome. So maybe one day I'll give it a go.
Yeah, that was my Game of the Year easily. Love that game. Deathloop won Best Game Direction, Best Art Direction. And I know we had various views on Deathloop, but they got those awards there. Best narrative was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that one that I forget if you had tried that.
I haven't tried it, but I've been really interested in playing it ever since it was first announced because it looked very Mass Effect-y in like how it's very party based and they will you have different relationships with each character which will differ amongst like everybody's playthroughs. So yeah, it's cool to see it win best narrative because obviously it looks like it's taken from a game that's renowned for its narrative. So yeah, that's really cool. And I know it's had a great it's been a bit of like a surprise I think for a lot of people. So it's nice when you see that, when you see a game that nobody really expected too much of, not only win over everybody but also win a really big award like best narrative.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's actually on there's a bunch of sales for it lately, so like you can get it for
Mm.
20, $30 off right now. So yeah, I want to jump into that one as well. We got best score and music is Near Replicant. We have Kenna Bridge of Spirits won 2 awards, Best Indie Game and Best Indie Debut. So that one is on PS5 and PC. And it was a pretty big, deal going to PS5. That was one of their, just big gets for PS5 this year. And I haven't tried it yet. Have you? And I keep forgetting to try it, but I know that's a pretty big release.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list. I've heard nothing but like incredible. I think every single person I know who's played it have like just been in awe of it. I haven't heard like not even like a no, I've had no one say it's like okay or average. Or I've just heard like amazing things about it. So yeah, it's definitely on the list. It looks really really cool, and I love those kinds of games. And those kind of like, uh, I mean, I haven't played it, so I could be completely wrong. But I mean, it looks like like your Ratchet and Clank or Jack and Daxter kind of like platformer with really really lovely like cartoony world. And yes, really really do want to give that one a go. But yeah, like you said, I just keep forgetting. I think that might be on sale at the moment as well.
I'd be
But
right.
yeah, yeah, definitely do want to pick that up at some point.
Yes, same here. So we got Forza Horizon 5 won some awards of Best Audio Design and Best Sports Racing Game. That was one of my favorite racing games. I know you had a blast playing that this year as well.
Mhm.
We got Best Performance. So we got Lady Dimitrescu won. Maggie Robertson plays that character from RE Village. So she won for Best Performance. And I
Of
think
course,
easily, yeah, she was a huge part of why that game was so special was Lady Dimitrescu.
yeah.
Nice. We got Games for Impact was Life is Strange True Colors. We have Best Ongoing Game Final Fantasy 14 online. Is that one you've jumped into? I know you're a big Final Fantasy fan.
I've tried. It's just every time I've played it, something's happened where I've stopped playing it or whatever. But yeah, I've heard that once you get past like the base game into the expansions, it's quite a one of a kind experience, and the fact it's still going on now is pretty incredible. Especially given its history, where they essentially nuked the original game and re-released it because it was so poorly received. So yeah, pretty amazing to see it still kicking. But yeah, no, I think it's gotten to the point now. It's always been one of those games where I'm like, I will one day get into it. But I think now that ship sailed, and I probably won't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they did the now the verb or the explanation is No Man's Sky when you pull off one of those where you turn it around completely. They did that, and so it's cool to see them get that award. We got going down further. Best VR/AR game is Resident Evil 4 VR, which I just got a chance to. I got the Oculus 2 maybe about a week ago, and I've only put about 2 hours in. I need to jump back into it because now Halo Infinite has absorbed my life. But you had a blast playing it. I'm glad it got that VR Game of the Year. But what do you think about them getting that this year?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a pretty amazing. I mean, the game itself is amazing anyway. I think it's going to win awards no matter how it's re-released. But yeah, the way that they've done it with such care and such respect to the original. And I haven't finished it. I will definitely finish it. When I first got it, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I'd try it and it'd be a bit too scary, but it's just so good. It's just testament to the original game as well because it's just so much fun. It's so well paced and so just everything about it is just incredible. Which you've played it fairly recently, and yeah, I think it's brilliant in VR as well. So yeah, definitely will be jumping back into that. And yeah, I think whenever Resident Evil 4 gets re-released on anything, I think it's probably deserving of winning some awards.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot of rumors that were circulating, as they all do for bunches of games around the Game Awards, that we'd see this like Resident Evil remake news. We didn't see it there, but either way, playing Resident Evil 4 on VR is really the way to go right now. We got Best Action Game Returnal. Returnal got a couple of nominations, and I was glad to see them get Best Action Game. I was telling Gavin as we're streaming, as we're watching it, I wanted to like this game more. I wanted to be able to play it more, but I can still separate that and realize what they achieved was really dope. A lot of people really love this game. I love Housemarque, so I'm glad that they were able to get this award and that people are digging Returnal.
Yeah, exactly the same. It was a game that maybe was a bit too difficult for me, and maybe didn't have some things that would normally keep me returning to a game that's that difficult. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's deserving of winning as many awards as it has. It's won lots of different outlets. And yeah, and like you said, for Housemarque, it's fantastic because they make excellent games, and it's nice to see them get that like AAA recognition.
Yep. And there was Housemarque did tease something that looked like DLC, that weird helmet, a couple weeks ago. We didn't see any DLC announcements here, but it's very possible down the line. But yeah, we did not get that at the Game Awards. We have Best Action/Adventure Game, Metroid Dread. Best RPG, Tales of Arise. Best simulation slash strategy game, Age of Empires 4. Most anticipated game, Elden Ring, which they showed off some more story beats trailers for Elden Ring there at the Game Awards. And then we got, this one was controversial, but Player's Choice, which is this viewer rated category that leads up into the Game Awards. The first couple of weeks you can start voting on it. Halo Infinite was on there, and they actually won that award. And it wasn't Halo Infinite multiplayer or campaign, it's just Halo Infinite. So people were able to vote before actually playing the game. It actually released that week, but they won that award.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely deserving. Even before the campaign, because it was like a shock release. Releasing the multiplayer early, everybody it was universally loved. Obviously, it has some minor issues, but the gameplay is solid. And I think if you look at the whole the situation around its release, everybody's been so down on Halo for so long, and for it to come out and impress people in the way it did, I think it's really a fitting choice for that category.
Yep, I agree. After playing the game, I'm like, yep, it should have won that. But I was definitely one of the trolls out there voting. Well, I did vote for Halo to be in the mix because there was kind of a bracket sort of voting style, but I kept voting for It Takes Two as the main one to be in there, and it held on. But Halo Infinite ended up winning on that Player's Choice side. But that's all the Game Awards news and announcements. I don't know if you kind of scrubbed through the announcements once it was done, but how do you feel overall about the Game Awards? Do you want to see anything change, going forward? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with it. I would have liked to have seen games that personally I want to see more updates from, but that's very specific to me. I think we've had some cool announcements. I think maybe it was like hyped up in terms of like its announcements a bit more than maybe it delivered on. But
Yeah.
Again, that's completely specific to me and my taste in games. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's an award show with the part of it with announcements. I think it's getting very like kind of cringy with how, I think just because of how like infused Twitter is with everything, it's just getting so, I don't know, it's going to sound weird, but like it's just getting very what's the word, like commercialized. Like it's
Oh yeah,
just,
for sure.
it's not becoming like the Oscars now. And I like games to have like their own little kind of like nichey, well, not nichey, but just be a bit more self-aware. I used to love E3 when it was like really cringy, and the only people who really knew about it were gamers. And then when you had people who weren't into games, like actors come in, it was always like really awkward and
Oh yeah.
stupid. But now it's just like, yeah, it just doesn't feel real anymore. It just feels very like they're just saying, it's just, yeah, it's just all very commercialized and everything, which I think is a shame. But yeah, it is what it is. And I think as a show, it was fine.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's hard to put your nose on exactly what, but you're right, where it is very commercial. They're paying the bills at the same time. They have these, product integrations. They have the movie trailers there. I guess you could argue because they're huge now. So it's like, as
Yeah,
far as revenue earning industries, compared to the movie industry, TV, games are like probably well beyond that, where it's a juggernaut. So, and people watching award shows, Game Awards has to be at the top because who's watching the Oscars or the Grammys, that kind of thing. It's just, they've become this huge juggernaut. And so it's a weird thing to balance. But I do really dig with Jeff Keighley, where he's pretty open as far as willing to take criticism and try and figure out what that balance is and switch it up next year. He does these talks on Twitter where anybody can join in. He'll take questions from anybody. And whether it's somebody who wants to just blast him for whatever or give him praise, like they'll talk about anything. That was leading up to the Game Awards, and then after the Game Awards. That was really cool. I dug and it's a weird way I don't know how is the best way to talk about it, but when he did that, he had to reference the whole Activision thing at the very beginning. He got some heat the week leading up to it, where he was saying maybe we aren't going to reference them exactly or directly or talk about it, but he started the show directly not actually referencing Activision, but talking about how there's no place for any kind of abuse in the game industry, whether it comes from devs or it's on the team or just fans in general. I dug that he started off the show directly talking about it, but it's a hard balance to strike. But I think that I'd still rather the Game Awards be around, But yeah, there's definitely room for improvement and tweaking stuff for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. I think there is just a general sleazy feeling about the games industry at the moment. Rightly so. Just it just seems like everywhere it's just the same thing. It's the same kind of vibe at so many of these big studios, and I think that's where it just does feel very sleazy with the just the like the corporate like positivity and just being like overexcited about everything, and it's just like, yeah, it just doesn't feel very honest to me. And yeah, I think where there's just so many issues in the industry of so many of these companies, and you see like all the walkouts at Activision. I just feel like sometimes people just need to be a bit braver
Mm.
when it comes to speaking out against the people who are paying for these big stages or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one because if you're in that situation, it's probably not as easy as that. But I think there is just a general bad feeling in the games industry right now, and again, rightfully so. And I think when you see something like the Game Awards, which feels very like fabricated, and how like positive it is, and like, oh, I'm so excited about all these like things, and yeah, it just kind of, I think they just rub each other the wrong way for me. But yeah, I mean, it's probably not. It's probably a bit of a non-story, or not really something. It's just, yeah, I think it is just a weird, uncomfortable situation at the moment, and the Game Awards don't really help it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm interested to see what they switch up and how it evolves. It's been around for a while, but yeah, there's definitely things they can improve on with
Yeah.
the Game Awards. So we can round off the show here with some tidbits, some big stuff from PlayStation as far as rumors go. We got PlayStation plans new service to take on Xbox Game Pass. This is from Bloomberg News. This is on the 3rd of December. Sony's PlayStation division is planning a new subscription service to compete with Xbox Game Pass, according to people familiar with Sony's plans and documents reviewed by Bloomberg. So it's not officially released from Sony at the moment. The service is codenamed Spartacus and is launching sometime in spring 2022. Spartacus will merge Sony's two existing subscription plans, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. Documents reviewed by Bloomberg suggest that Sony plans to retain the PlayStation Plus branding but phase out PlayStation Now. So Project Spartacus is said to be offered in 3 subscription levels. The first one, there is no actual name to them, but I put the silver, gold, and platinum
I
as a way
saw
to
those. I got
conceptualize.
really excited.
Yeah, this isn't official, but I just put because you have to imagine they're going to put some branding on these 3 different tiers and explain why to consumers, which one is priority, which one's base level. Anyway, so we got the first one. The first would include existing PlayStation Plus benefits, so online multiplayer, the same possible free monthly game every month. The second would offer a large catalog of PS4 and PS5 games to stream or download. The third tier would add extended demos and a library of classic PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. So this is still rumored. Apparently, it's down the line. What do you think about these rumors here from Bloomberg?
Yeah, I think it's like inevitable slightly, just because I think that's just the way everything's going now as subscription services. Mostly obviously in TV and everything, but now we've seen it with Game Pass, and obviously PlayStation Now is already kind of comparable, just not in the scope of Game Pass. Um, so yeah, I think it's exciting it's exciting because I think it's just kind of messy having Plus and PlayStation Now. So it would just be nice to have like them combined in some way. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's still something to say about like just buying games as well. I know it doesn't really make sense, but I guess it's just like this sounds to me like this is it now. Like this is going to be the full change where everything's just going to become subscription based. Obviously, the choice will still be there to buy games, but it's just, yeah, it's a bit. If this happens, and it happens as we expect it to, then it's going to be a big like shift in how we consume things and how we buy things.
Yeah, it's a loaded conversation, but this one is interesting where PlayStation does have to, at least on paper, compete quote unquote with Game Pass. But we talked about in the past quite a bit where they already do compete. You have PlayStation Plus, which is a service that predates Game Pass, where you get a free monthly game. Now, granted, it's not Game Pass level where their first party games launch their day and date, And I don't think Project Spartacus is that. I think they're still going to have their Naughty Dog stuff. Their first party big juggernauts are going to release separate. This is more of a offering the other games that are releasing on PS4 and eventually PS5, kind of filling out the catalog. Depending on which tier you get, you still have your access to monthly free games, your multiplayer, and then the back catalog of PlayStation games. It seems like this is more of, I guess, just on paper, here's our, response to Game Pass, but it's still not going to be what Game Pass does, where it's because the big draw for me with Game Pass is getting those big juggernaut games day and date, like Infinite was right out the gate. Don't have to buy it. It's there. As long as I keep that subscription, and as long as these huge games keep coming, I'll keep that subscription going. But you're right, where it's going to be weird if the priority or the intention is having you a subscriber and not buying games. It's a bit weird, but I guess if the game is big enough, I'll just flat out buy it. And if I intend on playing the hell out of that, I'm just going to buy it flat out. But it's weird. But they are competing. I don't know if they really have to, but maybe on paper they need to have something that says this is our version of Game Pass.
Yeah, I think I guess it is a way for them to just make the comparisons easier as well. But for me, it's just the case of wanting to play. I mean, especially even with Game Pass, like the main thing about Game Pass since I got my Xbox is seeing all these older games, like things like Fallout 3 and the Fable games, and another good example like Dead Space, and all these games that I can just download and play, and they'll play really really well on the Xbox. And they're all PS3 games. I mean, not Fable obviously, but you can't. There's no way to play these older games on PlayStation 5 unless you want to stream them, which is problematic for pretty much everybody. So I just want to be able to play PS3 games natively on the PS5, and a big part of it for me is obviously trophies. Trophies are nice, but also just I just want to having an Xbox is like having just a machine that has all the games that you ever want to play on it, and it'd be nice to have that on both systems, because again, not everyone has an Xbox, so it'd be nice for people who only have PlayStation to be able to have that same like feeling of accessibility to all of these games, and not just because I want to play games that I love that are a bit older now, but also games that I missed out on that are stranded on older hardware or whatever that are easily accessible on Xbox, and not just through Game Pass as well, but hopefully something like this, if PlayStation do focus on getting PlayStation 3 games backwards compatible. But the fact on Xbox that if a game isn't on Game Pass, you can still just buy it from the store if it's a 360 game, or even if it's an original Xbox game, through backwards compatibility. So maybe this will also pioneer PlayStation into being able to, bring older games to their storefront as well. I just think being able to have one box for all these games is just a really nice thing, and it's not something I've always felt. I've normally felt like, well, if you want to play PS3 games, just plug a PS3 in. But now, once you sort of have a taste of that, being able to just download games and play them at like maximum fidelity because you're on a newer console, it's really great, and I just hope that we can see more of it. And if PlayStation can do that, then that'd just be great for people.
I think you're 100% right about that, and that's a way that they can really have the best way of competing, where it's like really filling out their back catalog and allowing it to be super easily accessible on a PS5, on a PS4, where you have the service. All that full catalog is there, and it's not going to be the first party games showing up their day one like Game Pass, but one of the aspects of how Game Pass succeeds is that you have all these games that are just out the flip of a dime. You can download them, you can play them there. So I think this would be a good way to offer something like that, and help them also kind of simplify their different programs like PlayStation Now, PlayStation Plus, make it easier. I don't have any info on the pricing. That wasn't part of this potential leak, so we don't know how much more it's going to be to have the top tier where all these games are now offered there. I don't know. That they also have to compete on that front too, making it just cheap enough. But it's interesting, and it seems like we're going to get some info soon. I would imagine they would kind of hype this up on their own stream coming out next year, early next year, to kind of get people ready for it. But yeah, it's coming down apparently.
and it's such an opportunity as well because since getting my Xbox, I've noticed how the PlayStation 5 just has an infinitely superior user experience when it comes to not being in a game. I don't know if you agree, but the Xbox UI and like the operating system in general is, I find it quite lethargic and slightly slow and overly complicated when it doesn't need to be. Like, I mean, for example, when Halo Infinite the campaign came out, it was launched at 6 p.m. in the UK, even if you had the disc as well, which is a big a big problem for people
I heard
over
about
here.
that.
But just trying to find it on Game Pass and try and download it, because it's like separate to the multiplayer, and it would only show up at 6 p.m. and even at 6 p.m. it was really difficult to find, and just the general user experience. I mean, I get lots of like errors, like typical like Microsoft errors, and problems with quick resume as well, where it just doesn't feel like lightning fast and easy to approach like the PlayStation does. The PlayStation feels like a proper purpose driven, and I didn't feel this way as much before I got the Xbox. Before, I was kind of assuming that the Xbox was just the same, like where it's really fast, really easy to understand. But now I've got one. I just think that if PlayStation are able to in some way not even like offer these games for the subscription price like Xbox Game Pass does, but just give us access on the store to PS3 games, PS2 games, or whatever. Just give us more accessibility and more option for these older titles. Then it would just be it would absolutely take off above everything else, because the user experience currently, in my opinion, is like miles apart between the two. And the only reason I am playing my Xbox more at the moment because Game Pass is great, and it's all, at the end of the day, it's about playing games on it. So if PlayStation can match that aspect of things, then I think it's going to be a real get for them, because the foundations are there, and the foundations are far better from a user's perspective, in terms of like navigating the menus and everything like that. But I don't know if you agree. I might be on my own in that regard.
Well, until Sony lets us hold the power button down on the PS5 to turn off, I'm going to say Xbox is better. Until they change that, that's what I want. But you are right, where it's more streamlined, and especially on Xbox, there's more emphasis on your friends and how those screens pop up and kind of take over. With PlayStation, and maybe you can argue it's harder to go in there and find them, but I feel like the way it's arranged is more just pleasant and easier to find what you want compared to Xbox. There's just a bunch of stuff, and each game has its own little page, and just scrolling through, it's kind of a mess. I know you can toggle stuff on and off. I haven't spent a bunch of time there, but it seems like still PS5 feels like it is a next gen experience with maneuvering around, a snappy UI menu. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think like you can get sort of into the actual like where things are and how easy things are to get to. But I think it's more just the Xbox. It doesn't feel, when I first got the PS5, I was like, wow, this is like insanely fast. Like there's no load, like everything's baked in. Like even the store, even when you search for things, it's still like instant. It doesn't load. It's like it's preloaded, like already there. And an Xbox, it's not just that it's slightly slower or anything like that. It's also just the fact that and it might just be me, I might just be unlucky, but I get like a ton of errors all the time, especially when I first set it up. I had some issues, um, and yeah, I just feel like the general user experience is just much better on the PlayStation 5. And before I had the Xbox, again, I just assumed it's a next gen console. It's going to be exactly the same. It'll obviously be a different layout and everything like that, but it just doesn't feel next gen at all. And then when you're in a game, obviously, of course it does, but when you're outside of the game, it just feels very middling and just not. And again, it's not like a massively important thing. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop playing. It doesn't mean I'm going to play my PlayStation more because of it. But if PlayStation can match Xbox, where Xbox is clearly doing much better, and that is being able to access this huge library of games, then I don't know what, and this is like trying to speak from the perspective of somebody who is like comparing the two. I don't know what Xbox can then do to because obviously they've done this and they've really like gone ahead with it. But if PlayStation are able to match that in content wise, then I don't know what Xbox can do to sort of come back from that.
Gotcha. It's interesting. We'll see. We'll see what comes forward here. To round out, we got some other last little tidbits here from PlayStation. This one was this week, pretty big. PlayStation acquires its fifth studio this year. It's from IGN here. Sony Interactive Entertainment has acquired independent developer Valkyrie Entertainment, making this the 17th studio under the PlayStation Studios umbrella and the fifth acquisition the gaming giant has made in 2021. Founded in 2002, Valkyrie Entertainment is a Seattle-based game developer best known for offering co-development services for several development studios. Valkyrie Entertainment's portfolio consists of assisting in the development of games such as Halo Infinite, Forza Motorsport 7, God of War 2018, and more. More recently, September, the studio announced it is helping Sony Santa Monica Studio with the development of God of War Ragnarok, which is slated for 2022. Another big get for PlayStation, this studio that has their fingers everywhere working on stuff, on support for games, and this makes it the fifth studio this year. They had, I'm blanking, but we had Housemark and some other big ones this year. But what do you think about this news?
Yeah, I think it's always good to kind of like bolster kind of your first party studios with other studios, and they've worked, co-developed on some really really big titles, so they've obviously got very talented teams, and they're very obviously useful if they're being used for big and impressive games like the ones they have been used for.
Yeah, and one of the big, I don't know if it was a big complaint, but the natural reaction to, say, last year when Microsoft had acquired Bethesda, it was, oh, what is Sony going to do? Now that huge acquisition is on the side of Microsoft, but Sony kind of quietly, maybe not quietly, but they weren't hitting these huge high profile studios or publishers and acquiring them. They're more kind of rounding out the portfolio. So, and also studios I already work with, say with Housemark, with Bluepoint was a big one. And then these other smaller studios that work on these huge properties. There's also that PC port studio that they acquired this year as well. So they've been doing, I don't know if it's a smarter approach or just maybe a quieter approach. They've been kind of rounding out the portfolio and not headhunting for these like huge studios that are well known, but still stuff that's going to improve the ecosystem on the development side within Sony.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with all these different studios that it's difficult to look at the name of a studio and then just be like, oh, that's a bigger,
Right.
purchase or whatever. Because you never know who's, you could have the next Todd Howard or Neil Druckmann working at one of these studios. You never know, and it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that by buying the studios they then own these people, but there's obviously something they've seen in them, otherwise they wouldn't buy them. And yeah, I think you just never know what's going to happen in 10 years time. In 10 years time or even 5 years time, there's going to be a bunch of studios in making headlines that we maybe today haven't never heard of.
I agree. So we got some last bit here. Really just news on some PC ports for well-known PlayStation games. So we have Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection arrives on PS5 and PC later, but it arrives on PS5 in January, and then PC gets a later release. So we got some news on some of the features coming out. This is from IGN as well. Sony has announced that Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection will launch on PS5 on January 28th, 2022. So Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection will offer a fidelity mode for 4K 30 frames per second. This is on PS5. A 60 frame per second mode. Performance Plus mode, so it gets 120 frames per second at 1080p. As for PS5 features, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection will utilize the PS5 DualSense controllers, spatial 3D audio, adaptive triggers, and near instant loading times. The game on its own will cost $50 digitally and physically. Players who purchase Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, Uncharted, or Uncharted Lost Legacy will get the game for a $10 upgrade, the PS5 next-gen version. However, there are some caveats to this collection. For starters, this release only features the single-player campaigns of both games, and the PS4 multiplayer mode is not included. But how do you feel about this, Callum? Are you excited to try this on PS5 and then eventually on PC?
Yeah, I am actually. I think Uncharted 4 is the only Uncharted I've only played through once. I think because it's a little bit less I think the first three games you can just jump into them and play them. You know, they're not too long. They're linear. You know, they're really just nice, like popcorn flicks, basically, of games. I always sort of think of them as, not to obviously take away anything from them. I mean, especially the second and third game, they are like really special games. But I think the fourth one's a lot more involved, and you got like the open parts. It's a lot more difficult as well. So yeah, I've only played that one once, so definitely keen to play through it again. But and Lost Legacy as well, I absolutely loved. I think that was really good. Although I am disappointed to learn that they won't have any. They don't have a new trophy list, so
Oh,
which is a shame because the Lost Legacy I already got the platinum on, but four I didn't. So four, I'm sure I can get back to.
yeah, it's a bummer. I wonder how they solve that, but it is essentially the same game ish, but it's an upgraded version. Although
Yeah.
even if you're buying the $50 version, like the actual full release, you're still those trophies are just transferring over, and unless you unlock them, it's nothing changes there. That is a bummer. But these games were a really big showcase on PS4, where Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy were just crazy visual spectacles. And I'm excited to see what they look like on PS5, but they already look so good on PS4. But one big thing would be to see it running at 60 with the same fidelity would be really cool. And then I want to try out that 120 frame mode. But although playing a lot of PC games lately, I noticed that after like 100 frames, I don't really notice a difference anymore. So I stopped chasing that dragon of getting as much frame rates as possible. But I'm excited to play these on PS5 for sure.
Yeah, I think the only games you're really going to notice, 100 plus FPS on is like really twitchy shooters. I think the
Right.
only game I've ever really noticed on was Halo Reach when I played that on PC when I first got my 144 hertz monitor, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is great. But on like anything else, it's not really going to be too bad. In fact, I imagine 30 FPS on a game like Uncharted would probably be okay as well. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see it at 60, and I imagine once you try it at 60, 30 will probably look a bit awful.
Yeah, going from 30 to 60 is a big jump, and I think it ran fine. Like the original Last of Us, you have Uncharted all running at 30. That's always been the goal, and now going into next gen, they can handle the 60 frame mode, or really on PS4 Pro, that kind of unlocked those upgrades early on. But no, it looks great regardless. There was some drama, at least on Twitter, some negative views on the fact that there was a $10 upgrade if you already own these. A lot of people wanted it to be free. How do you feel about them charging for the PS5 upgrade if you already own these?
Yeah, I think in this case it's a little bit of a shame. I think they're fairly well, they're not old games, but it's not like this is something that people have been like wishing and wishing for. So yeah, I think it's a bit naff. But is it do you only have to own you only have to own one of the other or something like that, and then you can get the whole collection
Yeah,
for 10
apparently it's
dollars?
either if you own 4 or own Legacy, or God, what's the open world one that I'm blanking on now? Was it Legacy, Uncharted Legacy? If
Yeah,
you own
Lost
that,
Legacy.
the Lost Legacy, there you go. If you own that, I believe if you own the Uncharted collection, but I don't think I feel like there was 3 that if you own them, then you have that option for the $10 upgrade.
I
If
felt like
not,
there was three.
yeah, there was an image that I ended up not finding in time for the stream that showed off another one that if you own that, you can unlock that $10 option. The $10 doesn't really bother me because it feels like it's small enough of an amount of money, and I bought the actual game so long ago that it doesn't really hurt me at the end of the day or bother me at the end of the day. Same with the Skyrim re-release on PS5. There's that next gen version, which I watched my wife play a bunch of. She's a huge Skyrim fan and pretty much plays that game for the past 10 years. Like whatever, anytime they re-release it, she's playing it again. And seeing it on PS5, it looks really great. And I paid, I think it was $20 actually to unlock that upgrade, even though I owned the previous re-release of that game. And that still didn't bother me. I know I've bought that game so many times. It's an old game. It looked really good though. I feel like if there's enough time that spans from the last time I actually flat out bought the game, $10 isn't that crazy for me. But I understand people rathering it being free. Say with like God of War 2018, that got a free PS5 upgrade with different fidelity modes. Although there wasn't the trigger feedback upgrade, if I am not mistaken. But yeah, people are kind of bummed. For me, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, yeah, I think it, yeah, it definitely. I think because it's older, it can also make you feel like maybe like, oh, it's kind of like getting a new game. So yeah, I get that. But yeah, I think it's hard when you do have other games that have done it for free, and obviously again looking at Xbox where they have a very uh nice way of upgrading their games and upgrading they load pretty much every game to the point where it's not even worth announcing it anymore. They kind of just announce like a list.
Yeah.
So I can see why I can see kind of both sides. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, paying £10 or $10 for an upgraded version of a really big game that hasn't really been in anyone's mind for a while is probably not going to be the end of the world. But then you do also have, and I know it sounds like nothing to a lot of people, but not having a separate trophy list is also a bit of a bummer, especially considering the multiplayer is not included. So you're not going to be able to
True.
get the multiplayer trophies, which is why I think it was a big surprise to me because Uncharted 4 obviously has multiplayer trophies. So it's a bit of a weird one. But again, I know that that's not important to the vast majority of people.
Yeah, possibly. But there are a lot of trophy nuts out there, and I'm just not, never been one of them. So it's like, it's
Yeah,
cool that it's there, but I know it's a huge part of PlayStation. So I'm
yeah.
willing to understand that I might be the outlier too. With the last one here is just some news on God of War 2018 PC release. I don't know if the date's already been official, but this was released last week. So we got a January 14th date on this, and then some very nerdy PC specs. It looks like it is going to be a pretty demanding game if you want the high ultra settings on this thing, but still, I'm very excited to play this on PC. Although, as I say that, I don't know if I flat out want to buy it again just to see what it looks like on PC, but I haven't played this game in a while. I wouldn't mind continuing or replaying the actual campaign because I think I was one and done besides going and finding the Valkyries and stuff. So I would think about getting this on PC. What do you think?
Yeah. I think if I do want to play it again, but I think I'll just play the PS5 upgrade. But yeah, it's awesome that it's going to PC, and I'm sure it'll looking incredible. But yeah, the specs for 4K 60 is interesting. It's pretty much like max. You can't really get much better than the specs it's asking for. So I'm not sure many people will be playing it at 4K 60. But then again, that I guess that's with everything turned up to ultra. So
Right.
um, but it's interesting to know how the PS5 does it, or what the difference between the two will be. I think if we can get, I'm sure there'll be like a digital foundry comparison between the 4K 60, if they can get their hands on RTX 3080, that is. But I'm sure there'll be a comparison between the 4K 60 on PC and the 4K 60 on PS5. And it'll be interesting to see that because that's a real measuring stick for how well these consoles are, holding up to what's currently top end in the PC space. So it'll be a really, really good measuring stick there.
Yeah, it's a thing. If you're at all care about this kind of stuff, you got to watch out for Digital Foundry. They will absolutely dig into the details on this. They've done it for Horizon. They've done it for Death Stranding, and there's the driving game in Portland on the bikes. I'm blanking on the name for some reason, but anyways, that got the PC release as well. What they do is they will try and figure out what is the PS5 or PS4 settings just by like matching all the visual quality and the frame rates and stuff, and then show that and then compare it to the PC different settings. And they do have the 3080, 3090 that they'll test out. And I do like
Yeah,
that lately they'll test out last gen graphics cards because obviously not everybody can get these 30 series
yeah,
cards or even just like any card in general. So they'll see it on the 26 or they'll display it on a 2060, 2070, showing you what you can expect. And yeah, they go full blown into details, and I love watching their stuff because they'll definitely do this for this title for sure.
yeah. And I think it will just be very, very interesting because if the specs it's showing for 4K 60 ultra settings, that's going to cost you like what, 2,500 for a PC with that kit in it. So
Yeah.
it's you're comparing a £2,500 machine to what, like a $350
Yeah.
dollar machine, or $450 even. Um, so yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how they hold up against each other, and I imagine it's not going to be massively different.
Yeah, no, one of the features they're supporting, it seems like at launch, is with NVIDIA. they have that DLSS mode, which will like it will, I want to say, toggle the resolution to keep performance at a certain way, or vice versa. And so having that also will help you get whatever performance. So if you still have kind of base level cards, then you can still reach these crazy frame rates. So they're going to have that to at least give you some options. So if you don't have that, ultra level of a machine to achieve that. But yeah, no, it's cool. I love the options that are there. I always want to jump in and try, but I play it for like 10 minutes and then so I stopped doing that. Like I bought Death Stranding on PC. Days Gone is what I'm thinking about, that to see how it looks, but I ended up not playing it. I just want to see how it performs on my PC. I got to stop doing that because it's just a waste of money. But yeah, that's where Digital Foundry comes in. They show you everything.
Yeah.
Nice, Cal. We can end it there for the week. Where can they find you online?
I am on Twitter at Bear Monroe.
Awesome. And you can find us as well on Twitter. Keep up with the show at Plastic Art Pod. That is it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Are you getting Christmassy over there?
Yeah. I won't say I don't care about Christmas. Christmas is cool. It's fun. And I like to see everyone having a blast, but I just don't care. But I'm not a curmudgeon where I'm going to stop other people from having fun. Go for it. Yeah. I just don't personally like that.
Yeah, but I think that's like the difference, isn't it? Is you have people who you can always tell if people really don't care about Christmas because they are just indifferent about it. Whereas you have people who you can just tell are like doing it for like their personality and trying to
yeah.
It's like when it's like it'll be like 3 days before Christmas Day and people are like, oh, why have they got their decorations up? It's not even Christmas yet.
Yeah, that's what I am internally. I think those people that are excited for Christmas, they have like hope for the future and for humanity, and I don't. And so I just like it's just another day to me. And
way of looking at it. I think for me, I stopped liking Christmas. It was like a mixture of growing up and getting like when you get like your first job, and so you just buy yourself what you want, rather than for me it always used to be like when I was little, it always used to be about the presents, which I think it is for a lot of kids. And then I kind of grew up, got a job in like a bar, which meant then I had to work Christmas as well, so it was like a double thing. But ever since I've like got out of the hospitality industry, and you like when you start working at like an office or whatever, and you get Christmas off, it's like you're able to like look forward to it just because you get time off work. And also like it's nice now I live like far from my family as well. It's like an excuse to go spend time with them as well. So yeah, it's kind of nice. It's like an organic kind of way of like moving through the, I've had the stage where I hated Christmas and everything about it, and then it kind of like, I guess it changes, doesn't it? But yeah, I'm looking forward to the time off work, and yeah, I'm going up to Scotland, so that's going to be some extreme weather up there probably. But yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, is that soon? I know you mentioned like they give you like 2 weeks or whatever right around the holidays.
Yeah, well, the majority of people, so we finish like officially on the 23rd, so it's not too much. You don't get too much time beforehand, and I think we're back on like the 3rd or 4th of January. So I'm flying up on the 22nd, so my last day will be the 21st, and then back whatever the first day is. But it's quite nice because going up to Scotland, and then I'm coming back to where I used to live in Bournemouth, sort of the Bournemouth area where my brother is. So I'm going to spend like New Year's there. So I'm kind of like getting to see everybody and enjoy like the time off, and then
nice.
And I got a whole year of work again, so that'll be
Yippee! My wife is saying the same thing because she works for this big call center in the States, and she was like, yeah, out of 365 days, I get 20. I think it's like 20 paid days off, which is like, I guess, on the better end for that level of whatever size company it is. But it's like 20 days out of 365 when you like do the math. It's like, oh, something's not right here.
But, yeah, it's quite exciting because I joined like sumo and Chinese room like a bit way through the year. Like I didn't get all my holiday days and stuff, so I'm excited to like start the new year and have like a fresh like pool of holiday to take. And yeah, I think I was saying to my family, because it was a bit of a scramble because I hadn't booked anything off Christmas, so I had like 1 day left, I think, which is why I'm sort of leaving fairly late. So I was saying, like as soon as I'm back in January, I'll just like book like 2 weeks off before Christmas or something.
Right.
Just so I get in there early and get it sorted. But yeah.
Yeah, with my wife, it's pretty fucked up. They do these things called blackout time frames or blackout days where you can't request days. So because they're season, they deal with like customer service with orders. So people not getting them shipped or whatever kind of complications. So during like Thanksgiving and especially around Christmas, everyone's shipping stuff and stuff is getting lost. So they just can't request those days, which is messed up. But like they tell them that from the get go, and you can still just like say, "Oh, I'm sick," and just take off, which is what a lot of people end up having to do. So it's like get rid of these blackout days that are not stopping anybody from leaving. It's just like it makes it harder to. Then you forfeit your holiday pay. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, I think like most places do it where if there's multiple people off on a day, then maybe they'll be like, right, no one can take that day off. But yeah, to
Yeah.
like black out for everyone's pretty harsh. But
Yeah.
so but someone's got to do it, haven't they? Someone's
I guess so.
got to do it for the rest of humanity.
Right. Somebody has
That's
to be
why I
there
always
for other people
felt.
to yell at them.
That's how I always felt working like Christmas Day at like at like a restaurant or a pub or something. Like someone's got to feed these people with their family on Christmas Day.
True.
So we'll all got to play our part. But yeah, I think like at the end of the day, if you don't get the time off at Christmas, you'll get the time off somewhere else. And I think it all boils down to just not working at the end
Yeah,
of the
that's
day
what
and
we all
spending
want to.
time.
We're realizing it's like, oh, I don't think we all want to work, or
Yeah,
there's a lot of restructuring where it's like I want to do what actually makes me happy to go be there, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
I don't know we can't fix it, but something's got to be done. Well, Cal, I got the stories ready. How has your couple weeks been?
Very very busy. And yeah, I wasn't feeling too great last week. I think just like mixture of I think I might have had like a chesty something, and also just working a lot, maybe a little bit burnt out. But we we I don't know what it's like in America, but the UK we've got like a new variant of COVID, the Omicron. I don't know if it's like
Right, the
worldwide,
Optimus
whatever.
Prime or whatever. That always gets
Yeah, Optimus
scarier and
Prime.
scarier with the names.
Yeah. And so we're looking like we might be going into another kind of lockdown.
Dang.
So what's just happened, like with like a day's notice, is people having to work from home again. So that's obviously difficult because we've been like having people return to work full time and everything. So now we're having to like logistically think about how they're going to work from home. It's quite good at studio I'm at, because I've been quite proactive with hybrid kind of working anyway, so we've got some good remote solutions set up, so it should be fairly straightforward. But yeah, it's going to be weird again. It's going to be it feels like very much like we were not even like halfway through return to normality with people coming back to work, and now we're like all the way back to square one again. So it's a little bit tough to swallow, but yeah, it is what it is. I won't be working from home because I've got to be at work to switch on a PC if it's turned off or or
Right.
whatever, and stuff like that. So but yeah, it's going to be, I imagine, a difficult few months. But yeah, hopefully it's only like over the Christmas period. But yeah, and I don't know if you've seen recently in the news, you probably haven't, but in the UK, we've just found out that our Prime Minister and the Conservatives, who are like the party in charge of the government, had a Christmas party last Christmas, when it was when they were like telling everyone else to not
Yeah,
meet up with
of
families.
course.
And
God damn it.
so yeah, but I mean, we all knew that the Conservatives are bunch of lying scumbags. So I imagine they're like, do you guys have Conservatives? And you have like, I
Yeah,
guess
for
they're similar to
sure. I don't know if their
Republicans in
ideals are
a way.
the same, but we have a conservative political side and more liberal political side.
Yeah, yeah. Because I always just imagine that, like, is it the Republicans who are like the rich people
Conservative.
who hate the poor people? Yeah. So I
Usually, yeah.
always just like I always kind of like just pitch them two together. But yeah, we've Yeah, we've had the Conservatives, or we call them the Tories,
Ah,
in charge for a while, and yeah, they're just a bunch of rich, like proper stereotypical like British like top hat wearing, fox hunting, just yeah, hating the poor kind of people running the country. So that's good.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's been quite interesting because now we've got like a kind of like a civil war going on in the Conservative Party, because even people who voted for them are like, I didn't get to
Ah,
see my family at Christmas, and these guys are, and it's and like the way it got found out was there was like a video leaked where of them at the party, and also they were doing like a mock press conference, like practicing if someone was going to ask about it, and they're basically like
yikes.
laughing and everything, and so yeah, it's not good. It's not good climate at the moment over here, but it never is really.
Dang. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had that happen on a smaller scale here where like I think it was in California, the governor, this was months ago or maybe last year where they did the same thing. They shut down, but then they were caught at this restaurant that the governor owned and having a party, and it was a big deal. And they kind of had to explain why that they just that they met, even though they're telling everyone and locking things down, and it's a bunch of hypocrisy. And it's like, yeah, it's we forget that, or we never forget, but these people in charge, they're people, and people can be assholes, and so it's
Mhm.
like they can still be in there telling you one thing, but not following the rules. And although it's good when that stuff does come to the surface, and hopefully there's some
Yeah.
change from it, but yeah, it
Yeah,
sucks to
yeah.
see.
Hopefully it means. I mean, personally, I don't trust like any political. I'm not on like a side of political parties in Britain. Um, so yeah, I just hope that it means like we just get something different next time. Like we just don't get these stupid people who have been running the country for so long. But I normally draw a when I like go to vote, I normally draw a dick sheep, so like a sheep made out of dicks. Me and my friends do it because apparently if like enough people
Yeah,
do
then you
like
got to put them in charge.
yeah, like apparently if enough people like protest vote like the same thing, then it becomes an official vote, like an official count, because they go down as like protest votes or something. But if there's
Gotcha.
enough of the same ones, if enough people drew dick sheeps, then there'd be a dick sheep party, which is my like life goal, I think.
They got to find the sheep with some kind of weird
Yeah,
birthmark on it, and it's a Black Mirror episode basically.
yeah,
Alrighty, com. Yeah, you got to just walk around your town with the Guy Fawkes mask, and that's just your political lining.
yeah.
Which my nephew loves those because that became because the internet's synonymous with hackers. They have those masks on, so it's like, oh, I want to be a hacker. I got to get that Guy Fawkes mask, and then start
Yeah.
typing on a keyboard.
I mean, Brighton, where I live, is like the only place in England that is not represented by the Conservatives. It's represented by the Green Party, who are like they're never like even nearly like winning the election or anything. They're always at one of the least represented parties, but they're all about recycling and like a very very like left leaning party. So it's actually really nice being in Brighton because the council are run by the Green Party, so it's kind of like a little a fishbowl in Brighton, which is quite nice, and it means that like whenever there's like outrage because of the Conservatives, then it's like proper like everyone's just on the same page, which is quite
Yeah,
nice.
awesome. All right, Cam. Well, we can jump into the show. If you're ready, I'm going to send out this link here. I'm streaming on YouTube now. I'm not that it matters. I'm going to try jumping around and seeing how to get some more views and
Yeah,
all
cool.
that.
I
But
think
yeah,
maybe we need to put like sexual things in the title or the thumbnail or something.
yeah.
Maybe that.
I'm always
But
hoping that you bring that crowd in just with your charming looks. You got the accent too. It's like so, but it hasn't worked yet. It's been like a
no, it
year,
hasn't.
2 years almost.
Yeah, yeah.